As I said on Tuesday, number 1's correct answer wasn't up there, so whatever you put, or if you put none, I gave you credit for, because all of those were not functions. For number 2, the table needed your x values to be in order, least to greatest. -5, -1. No, -2. You're right. -2, -1, 2, Thank you. And then whatever those y values were should have matched. You should not have put those y values least to greatest. So -4, 2, -2, 0, 3. Getting the table right was worth 1 point. The mapping, both of these needed to be least to greatest. So -5, -2, -1, 2, 4. -4, -2, 0, 2, 3. And then you needed to draw lines to connect them. So these went together, these went together, these went together, these went together, and these went together. The mapping was worth 3 points. Did you put them both least to greatest in order? 1 point, 1 point. Did you do the mapping, drawing the arrows or the lines? 1 point. Then the graph was worth 1 point. Did you plot them all correctly? And it should have looked something like that, for a total of 5. For the most part, we did fine on the first section. Did we have any questions on 1 or 2? For the most part, we did fine on the second section as well. The domain for number 3 should have been all real numbers. The range for number 3 should have been y is greater than or equal to -3. Some of you put all real numbers for both, but that was not the case. And then there was a typo because this was only supposed to be 2 points, not 4. Questions on that before we move on to 4? Jasmine.
I'm not sure how you got the
range. So the lowest point is at -3, and then it keeps going up, so it's everything above -3, so greater than. And then for number 4, you had to write out your domain and range. There were extras on here, so you could use that as like a guide. Your domain started at -3. So you have curly brackets, x such that x is greater than or equal to -3. Most of you got that. Some of you changed the sign or didn't put the negative. So just be careful with that. And then the range, because of the arrows, kept going down and kept going up. So that one was all real numbers. So that was worth 4 points, for getting the correct range and domain and also putting it in the correct notation. So each was worth 2 points. Questions on that one? Virginia? Oh, wait. No. Okay. Moving on. Double check your math when you get to questions like 7, and I realize that these are numbered wrong, but disregard that. So you should have put -1/2 in for all your x's, Make sure you're using parentheses, especially if it's a negative, because some of you didn't and it ended up with a wrong answer. Then start simplifying. So negative 1/2 squared should have been positive 1/4. This would have been negative 2 and then positive 2. And then if you combine those together, however you did that, these two should have canceled each other out. So f of negative 1/2 should have been 1/4. Or f of x equals 1/4. So your final answer needed to be a fraction. So this was worth 3 points. 1 for substituting correctly, for simplifying, and then getting the final answer correct. Questions on that one? For the most part, a lot of us got 8 correct. Some of us didn't. Because we confused what we were given. This is y, not x. Some of us put that in for x and then ended up with c. But we should have set this equal and then solved. And I'll talk about the other way. Some of you did this as well. So 16 equals 1/2 x, and then flip it and multiply both sides by 2. So D was the correct answer for that one. Some of you also saw it was multiple choice, so instead of doing this work, you started to put these numbers in for x and see which one gave you 24. That was also acceptable work. Questions on that one? I think you put these in for x. Yeah, and that was fine. Just if you're doing it that way, make sure you show everything. Show all your work. So you would have to, whether you're putting in each one or maybe you randomly started at D, whatever, you would have to show that you put in 32 and that you simplified it to get 24. Five was just writing the x and y intercepts as ordered pairs. Some of you wrote them like domain and range, but you should have just wrote them as separate ordered pairs. There were 3 x-intercepts. So negative 4, 0, negative 2, 0, and 1, 0. And then there was 1 y-intercept. Some of you put it as like a decimal, some of you put it exactly as 2. I counted either or.
What that one the test do?
Yeah. So if you see it a little off, then I'll give you that, yeah. So this was worth 4 points getting each intercept correctly. Questions on that one? And then for 6, most of you got the y-intercept correct because it's whatever is here. Make sure that's 0, 10. For the x-intercept, you need to show your work algebraically. So remember that f of x is the same as y, so you could rewrite it as such. In order to have an x-intercept, our y value needs to be 0. So So replace the y with 0 and then solve for x. So subtract 10 on both sides. And then you could either divide by the fraction or flip it and multiply by negative 2/5 on both sides. So that would be 20 over 5. It was positive 4. I was thinking it was negative. So your x-intercept should have been 4, 0. So 3 points was getting both of your x and y-intercepts correct, and then the work for the x-intercept.
If you don't put 0 and you put like f of x, would you get points?
Yes, because I don't know how you started to solve. Other questions on this? Do we have any questions on the review that we want to go back over or have questions on? Let me pull that up also. Otis.
So with the quiz, are there going to be more complicated questions than what's on here on the test?
More complicated.
Like more complex?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I really want to say they're more or less the same, just more of them.
Okay.
So this is the review we went over the other day. Are there any questions from this we want to see, go over, have questions on time?
Eating fruit?
Yeah.
Yes, I.
25 is okay. I don't have the thing in front of me, so you might have to tell me which one it is.
Fruit egg. It's all the second last fruit. Fruit eggs.
Oh, these are numbers.
Fruit S and
Oh, yeah, these.
fruit snack.
Okay, for 25. So this is on the review if you want to follow along. 25 gives you x and y. And it's asking which of these equations could be the right one. So you could put in x and see if you get out the y for each one. So for the first one, f of 2 equals 2 squared plus 8. This would be 4 plus 8. Would that give us 13? No. So it's not that one. The second one, f of 2 equals 3 times 2 squared plus 1. So that would be 3 times 4 plus 1. Would that one give us 13? 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1. So if they give you both and they're asking for the equation, just put them in and see which one works. 26, when you have multiple, you're going to need to set up each one. Do you have a question about 25? Yes.
So you know how you got to B
Mhm.
and you got to N? Do we have to do all of them, or once you get the answer you can like
No, you don't have to do all of them. And it also depends on where you start. So I just started at A. If you randomly pick B and start there, then that's fine. Okay, so for 26, you have to set up each one with each of these numbers. So G of -2, I'm going to write them and then do them. G of -1, G of 1, and G of 3. X squared minus 2. So this would be -2 squared minus 2, -1 squared minus 2, 1 squared minus 2, and 3 squared minus 2. So I would need to see the setup of each one. Then whether you simplify it in the calculator or not is up to you. So this would be 4 minus 2, 1 minus 2, also 1 minus 2. This one. Mm-hmm. That would still be positive one. Oh. And 9 minus 2. So 2, -1, and 7 would be A. Because you're not putting in repeats. So it's the same as what you were already doing. There's just more of them. So show more work. And then your final answer, since it started in curly brackets, has to end in curly brackets. Other questions in the review? Yes, that one. Yeah. My directions got cut off. What did it say? Identify the zeros on the graph and by finding the points. Okay. Zeros are your x-intercepts. No, it is included. Now, if it said zeros and y-intercept, then you would also include this one. But if it doesn't say y-intercept, don't do that. Any others? Regina? Which is not a 0. Okay, so this one you would have to do on your calculator. So you would type that into your y equals. Someone read that off to me. Can you read this off to me?
X to the third plus 3x to the second minus x
Minus 3. Yeah. So you would put that into your y equals. You would graph it. Look at where this touches your x-axis and see which of the numbers they give you is not up here. So we have 1, -1, 3, and -3. -3, -1, 1, 3 is not a 0. So that would be it.
Can you not do it where it gives you like the or like the numbers on both sides?
You heard about the table?
Yeah.
You could also look at the table, yes. Since they give you those numbers, look at -3, see if your y value is 0. Look at -1, look at 1. 3 is the only one where it doesn't have a y value of 0. So that would also work, yes.
Is there going to be questions like that when we have the graph?
I don't know the answer to that. I want to say no, but I don't remember. No. What are the other words for x-intercepts? Zeros.
Sorry. Don't
So that's your x values in general, specifically for your x-intercepts. We have zeros, not x values, just roots. Zeros, roots. There's one more.
What is x-intercept?
They are generally called x-intercepts, yes. So what's another word for that? Zeros, roots, x-intercepts, or think about when we were solving equations, we were looking for a solution. Solution, roots, zeros are all other words for x-intercepts. Okay. Any other questions from the review? Questions specific or general? I'll give you 5 minutes to get your papers together, and then once you have your papers together, put them on a table that doesn't have anyone's stuff at it.